Hello, and welcome to today's discussion. I'm Claire, and I'm joined by Alan. We'll be covering several key stories in international politics and U.S. domestic affairs.
That's right, Claire. We're looking at a range of topics, from geopolitical tensions to legal developments and electoral dynamics. Let's start with the story about U.S. plans to counter China's growing influence.
The Trump administration is preparing to significantly increase funding for programs aimed at countering China's growing global influence.
That's a notable shift. How much are we talking about here?
The documents suggest an increase of hundreds of millions of dollars. This comes after a period where many of these initiatives were halted or scaled back due to budget cuts.
So, what's driving this renewed focus on countering China?
The reporting indicates that the administration is concerned about China's expanding influence worldwide, particularly in regions where the U.S. has strategic interests.
That makes sense. Have these programs been effective in the past?
The effectiveness of these programs can vary. The articles mention that some initiatives were paused or reduced last year, suggesting there might have been mixed results or a reevaluation of priorities.
I see. So what's the next step in this increased funding?
The administration is reportedly finalizing the budget allocations for these programs. The exact distribution and specific initiatives are still being detailed.
Okay, got it. That ties into broader geopolitical tensions. Let's move on to another story.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked Minnesota's law banning prediction markets, which was set to take effect recently.
Prediction markets. Can you explain what those are?
Prediction markets are platforms where people can bet on the outcome of future events, like elections or policy changes. They're used for forecasting and can provide insights into public sentiment.
And Minnesota was trying to ban these?
Yes, Minnesota passed a law to ban prediction markets, making it the first state to do so. However, the law was challenged and the federal judge issued a temporary block.
What's the reasoning behind this legal challenge?
The challenge argues that the regulation of prediction markets falls under federal jurisdiction, specifically with the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission.
So there's a conflict between state and federal regulatory powers here?
Exactly. The decision reflects a broader debate about who gets to regulate these platforms.
That makes sense. Let's move on to another story.
The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to allow an executive order targeting mail-in voting to move forward ahead of the midterms.
What's the nature of this executive order?
The order directs the creation of a federal list of eligible voters for mail ballots. This could potentially change how mail-in voting is handled.
How does this relate to the current political context?
The administration's move is seen as part of a broader debate about voting methods and electoral integrity, particularly with the midterms approaching.
And what's the legal hurdle here?
Lower courts have blocked or delayed the implementation of this order, prompting the administration to seek Supreme Court intervention.
Okay, I understand. The Supreme Court's decision could have significant implications for mail-in voting.
That's right. Let's move on to another story. Former Vice President Kamala Harris has endorsed Troy Jackson, the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate in Maine, following a last-minute nomination process.
What led to this last-minute nomination?
The Maine Democratic Party used a hastily called nominating process to name Jackson as their candidate after the original nominee withdrew or was otherwise unable to continue.
And Harris's endorsement is significant because?
Harris's backing can bring considerable visibility and credibility to Jackson's campaign, potentially impacting the Senate race dynamics.
Got it. Let's discuss one more story.
Florida is set to carry out 2 executions in one day, marking the first time since 2017 that a state has done so.
That's a significant development. Who are the individuals set to be executed?
One is an ex-police officer convicted of murdering a young girl. The other is also facing lethal injection for a separate crime.
And what's notable about one of these individuals?
One of them is an octogenarian, making them the second oldest person in modern U.S. history to face the death penalty.
That's striking. What's the context around these executions?
Florida has been actively carrying out death penalty sentences, and this double execution is part of that ongoing process.
I understand. These stories cover a wide range of topics. Let's wrap up by reflecting on the broader implications of what we've discussed.
Indeed, from geopolitical maneuvering to legal battles and electoral dynamics, these stories highlight the complex and often contentious nature of current events.
Absolutely. And as we've seen, the outcomes of these developments can have far-reaching consequences.
That's right. Well, that's all for today's discussion. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Claire. It's been a pleasure exploring these stories together.